Hi, I'm Dana, and this is Highly Delicious. It's February, it's Valentine's Day, and I have just spent an hour in the kitchen putting together a Valentine's meal for my sweetheart and I. Valentine's is about making that person in your life feel extra special or know how special they are. So spend a little time and think about your Valentines, or make you yourself your Valentines for today. You got to love yourself in order to love someone else the way you want to be loved. Our Valentine's meal is a heart-shaped meatloaf, au gratin potato, and little green peas, all infused with cannabis. This is my mom's special Valentine's meal, but she never would have had the cannabis in it at that time. Thank you, Flower Company, for our gorgeous red roses on Valentine's Day. And thank you for joining us while we help you think of ideas that you might want to create for you and your lover or special person on Valentine's. I am choosing to use my mother's Valentine's traditions. She made every holiday we had so special. I remember Valentine's because it was always my favorite, with the meatloaf shaped into hearts and au gratin potatoes. Wasn't too crazy about the little green peas at that time, but today as an adult I find them absolutely delicious. So we're starting with our appetizer of dates, nuts, and a little bit of cream cheese with the feta. And we are then going to sit down to a fine meal of meatloaf in the shape of a heart, au gratin potatoes infused with cannabis, and little green peas, also infused with cannabis butter. Let's get started. So for tonight and for his Valentine's surprise, because I absolutely love the name Dates, I am making him a cream cheese filled date with pecans for that quick get into his bloodstream, and a little bit of feta cheese. Not always his favorite, but certainly is good for settling the hangries. So the first thing I'm going to do is pit my dates, which is a very, very easy thing to do. I've already pitted a couple of them, and I'm going to show you how simple it is. You just simply pull it apart, pull out that nice little skin. If there is a seed, be sure and pull that off as well. Take care of pitting our dates. Oops, sorry, I missed one here. Well, I didn't. That's going to be an extra sliced pitted one. The next thing I'm going to do is add just a wee bit of coloring in to my cream cheese to give it that festive look. And it's so easy and so fast. It takes a very, very small amount to do. So I'm just going to mix that in, get it to that desired color. The next thing, interesting to try and get all that in, but it really doesn't matter because even the variegated look is kind of pretty. So the next thing is to fill. Before I do that, let me infuse my cream cheese. This little meal of cannabis is going to be a lot better if I infuse it. So I always have my little handy dandy syringe full, and I'm just going to put a tad because remember, he probably hasn't eaten all day and I just want him to relax a wee bit. So I've just put a tad bit of cannabis in there, and I'm going, you'll notice that I have been massaging it a lot, and that just warms it up, helps me to get that RSO to infuse. Yeah, there we go. Nice. Definitely pink. All right, so easy breezy from here. First thing I do is just put a little bit of that cream cheese goodness in there. Stick a pecan in. I'm going to put this down. Take a few leaves of lettuce here. Let me set it right here. I think that this little bit of deliciousness is going to give Dean exactly what he needs. The last one that we're doing, we'll put a little extra in there. And another pecan. And then I just think that this is just kind of a pretty addition, and he can take a few crumbles. And that will make all the difference in the world from when he comes home to when I actually serve our meal. So enjoy your meal. Start out with an appetizer. Ours is dates with nuts, followed up by a heart-shaped beet salad. And we're going to finish our meal with some brownie, tart, and Mama's Loving coffee. A salad to me is one of the finest parts of the meal because it certainly starts all of the activation of your juices. And we're going to start our juices being activated with a tasting of beets. Beets are a phenomenal fruit. Couldn't stand them when I was a kid, absolutely love them as an adult. I like them pickled, I like to cook with them, I like all sorts of things. And today, I like decorating with them. I'm going to turn pickled beets, one of Dean's favorites, into a little heart salad. Heartfelt. From mine to his. You don't have to be an artist, trust me. You just have to have a little will and imagination to create this fancy little plate. See, I have a heart. I'm not going for an award, I'm just going for an appetizing look. Sharp little knife helps you to create the semblance of a heart. Oh, I love it. And what I'm going to do with all those extra little beet pieces that I've gotten, trying to come up with the perfect heart here, I'm going to put those back into my salad, so nothing is going to go to waste. All right. So we have our little hearts done. Now we're going to add some lettuce. Just kind of sprig it in there. Let your creative juices flow. There is nothing right or wrong about how you create a salad. Let's take some of these delicious cherry tomatoes. Add in a few blackberries. I'm going with my odd number. I seem to have a thing for odd numbers. I'm going to put a little bit of the crackers over to the side here. Set this down and work on my RSO infused raspberry dressing. Just a tad of RSO, because remember, we have a full meal already cooked with marijuana. And the whole idea is not just to enjoy the relaxation of RSO or of the cannabis plant, but also to use it for its healing qualities. And you know what they say, too much of anything is not a good thing. Another emphasis that I really want to make continuously is that you don't decide how much cannabis to use based on what I use. Do it based on what your body tells you works for it. That's one of my favorite parts of working with my physician, Dr. Tate, with this, is that she has realized also that cannabis is a fingerprint to you. It wants to match up to your print. You have to introduce it into your body. You have to make that hosting possible. So So I'm just going to take a little bit of my infused raspberry dressing. Let me move this over closer to you. I just chopped up some of those beets for color. And you know, ever since I have been making RSO and using the syringes for storage, which is very handy, especially when I want to put it into a capsule. I can then take it from the syringe into a capsule. I have discovered that it works in a lot of different ways as well. I don't believe that anything and everything has just one purpose. It's amazing how creative we can get. All right, add a little bit of juice to our beets, and there we have a delicious beet salad minus one cracker. And so with that, we can begin the next segment of our meal, the salad. Hearts and health, all in one. Just like cannabis and health go hand in hand. We are going to have little green peas for our Valentine's dinner, and I know that you know how to cook little green peas, but I'm just going to give you a quick tip. I like to drain mine, and then I like to take just a pat of butter and add that in on a very low heat so that my peas get hot, but they don't pop or don't get overly cooked. Just the perfect addition to any meal, and it was my mother's go-to when it came to meatloaf and au gratin potatoes, which is our Valentine meal for tonight. Takes me 5 seconds to put on the stove. I love adding little green peas and a pat of cannabis butter to any meal. That's all it takes. Now we're going to heat it up. Right over on the stove, down to low. And while that is heating, we can continue on with our potatoes. So, join us for the next portion of our meal. You'll see another short on making my mom's cheesy au gratin potatoes. Excellent meal addition to meatloaf or any of your other favorite meals. Today, I am showing you how to make my mother's au gratin potatoes. The only difference is I am infusing them with cannabis, and the cannabis is a cannabis spice that I got the recipe from my dad, and the only difference is I've added cannabis. So let me give you a little bit of an interesting tidbit about why I infuse and do some of the things that I do. I never know exactly what I'm going to cook. I'm not a planner. And so I like to kind of go by the seat of my pants. And if I have product around that's infused, my oils, butters, and that sort of thing, it just makes it easier for me to prepare a meal, particularly if the meal is just for me, where I want cannabis and my guest does not want cannabis. So with that in mind, just so you'll know, whenever I'm making butter, which I have a little piece of one of my sticks here, I start out with a product called ghee. And I add to that my cannabis if I am making it in my magical butter maker, and the amount of ghee that I use, the amount of cannabis that I use is approximately 2 ounces to 13 ounces of ghee. That way I have a really strong butter that I can then intermix with more fats and so forth if I want, and I'm not stuck with such a heavy cannabis taste. Cannabis does have a heavy flavoring to it, so as you get to know it, you'll find your favorite ways of cooking with it also. So to start out with my mom's au gratin potatoes, my cannabis potatoes, we're going to have a little container of cream. I have regular butter in addition to my infused butter. You'll see it's green. A lot of people do not like to have their cannabis so green. I love that, especially when I want the flavor to be stronger. Otherwise, I would use my RSO infused ghee because it's not quite as strong. We're using Velveeta cheese. It's not listed in the best cheese as far as you are certainly welcome to use any cheese that makes you happiest. For my choice tonight, using my mom's recipes, I am using her choice of Velveeta cheese. I have a nice little pan here, kind of the color of our holiday potatoes that I have pre-made, just like my mom did, slightly overcooked. I always loved it. Mom either had a frustration with burning or with cooking it too long, particularly on the potatoes. Doesn't hurt it a bit. I thought they were supposed to be that way. Loved it. So what you'll notice that I'm doing is separating my potato into layers. So I'm going to do one sprinkling of everything for the layers. I'm going to start out with some of my spice. I'm going to put just a wee bit of a pat of butter. The thing that I like about this is that as it's cooking, it's boiling in the pan, so it's all mixing together. I don't have to make my cheese sauce separately. I'm going to put a little bit of the cheese down in through here. And I'm going to put in a few pats of traditional butter as well. So we're going to have another layer going on top of this, so it's okay if we don't put butter all the way around, because I am going to put it on the top layer, and that'll help it to spread evenly. We're finishing with one more layer of potatoes. Cannabis spice. A pat of cannabis butter. This time, I'm going to spread it into a few more places. A couple of pats of the regular butter, just cut up and broken into pieces that will gently flavor. Another application of cheese, Velveeta cheese. And we're going to finish it off with some cream. You can use milk, half and half, whatever your favorite is. So before we put the cheesy potatoes into the oven, I am going to add just a wee bit of milk to the cream, so it's not quite as thick and has a lot of moisture in it. I don't want the potatoes to get too dry. So I have about a cup of cream and about a cup of milk in 5 potatoes and a serving for 4. I'm going to put this pan up underneath my silicone pan. Silicone pans are great and flexible, but you can see that they can also be just a wee bit messy. So we're going to put this in the oven with our meatloaf. While it finishes, our au gratin potatoes can go in at the same 350. They're going to cook until nice and cheesy, soft and delicious. So now we'll get on to the next part of our meal. Today we are making my mother's meatloaf for Valentine's Day. As you can see, meatloaf has a little bit of everything. Just to go over a few of them, I'm using a 70% meatloaf. Actually, the fat in the meatloaf makes it good, so you don't have to use a less fat, totally up to you. Garlic is always excellent. This is my dad's seasoning salt. My mom is responsible for making all of our holidays so memorable with the way that she would celebrate the particular holiday. And Dad always added things that were that extra flavoring. So this is his seasoning salt. I'll have to tell you a little bit more about it as we go. I'm going to put a little bit of pesto. I've just discovered that gives it a nice little zesty flavor. This is some breadcrumbs. We have tomato sauce. I am using about a half a package of the onion soup mix. It just adds a really nice flair into the meatloaf. And ketchup for the top. And of course, an egg to help hold it all together again. Meatloaf is so simple. I'm going to go ahead and mix this up because I am mixing by hand. And this just helps to make sure that we get everything in there good. So, put this up here. We're going to drop in the egg, the garlic, the pesto, this is about 1/4 of a cup of breadcrumbs, about 1/4 of a cup of the tomato sauce, 1/2 of a package of the onion soup mix. The ketchup is for the top. And while I'm mixing it, I'm going to tell you about Dad's seasoning salt. Dad loved to use his seasoning salt on everything. The only thing that's different about his and mine is that mine has cannabis in it. So the rest of the ingredients that are in here, it's kind of like a stew out of your spice cabinet. Anything that you like to cook with traditionally, we put in our seasoning salt, and that way it's an easy go-to for making those hurry-fast meals, like this Valentine's meatloaf. I'm mixing it all up. This was always my job at home. My sister couldn't stand it. I'm going to divide it up into 2 pans because I have a couple of little heart pans. So Dean and I each will have an individual meatloaf. The thing that's good about the individual meals is that when you have someone that likes the different variants of the cannabis, this is a great opportunity for you to tailor make it to each of your individual likes. Use our little heart-shaped pans here. I love these. Holidays made easy. I'm just going to plop it down into it and mold it into the shape. It doesn't have to be perfect, but the best you can do. Get this in a little bit and add a little bit of height in the center. My mom used to call it giving it a well because you are going to have a lot of juices that come out, which the juices are great to make a gravy with if you like a gravy on your meatloaf. Put the second one in. Mom always made hers by hand. I am fortunate to have a friend with some heart pans and a willingness to let me borrow them. The best part, my dad's seasoning salt. It is so pretty to even just play with. I do have it in a little can, but I just kind of like getting my hands into this meal. Let's put a little bit of spice on the top of the other one. There are so many different types of topping that you can do on a meatloaf. Mustard and honey inside the ketchup are really good if you prefer a steak sauce, whatever fingerprints it to you. Our family, straight ketchup. Just ladle a little bit of this on here. Swish it over. Not anything fancy. This is a really easy, good, home-style meal. You just get your heart into it. Okay. Now we're ready to put these on a pan and stick them in the oven and get them ready for dinner. I truly believe marijuana and wellness do go hand in hand.